We are streaming a game. I'm going to be going through a deck. Well, let's put this here for a sec. Secret card. That's not even supposed to be in here. That's a different card for a different deck. While the stream starts, we'll like to announce our sponsors, which is literally no one. We don't get sponsored very much, and that's okay. Life doesn't have to be about sponsorship, it just has to be about enjoying yourself and your time with others. Blah, 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 blah. So let's see. So I am going to be modifying this deck. I made a quote unquote oops all creatures version of Myrkul, which means that every card in the deck is either land or a creature. So I use Umori the Collector, and because it has a companion condition that every non-land card must be the same type. Not super type, not subtype, just regular card type, which is creatures, battles, instants, sorceries, artifacts. My brain can't remember permanent types right now. There should be 7 of them, or not like card types. Oh, I think Kindred actually counts, which is a weird one. But yeah, essentially, Mori is a 7 cost if you include the self-fetching part of it, because you have to pay 3 at sorcery speed to get to your hand, and then you can cast it for 4. And it just reduces the cost of all your creatures by 1, or whatever spell type you pick. It's kind of nice to have a turn 3 and turn 4 play, but honestly, I could do much. The problem with Myrkul is that he costs 7, and to get this guy out, you really have to have the right ramp package. And I did creature ramp, sort of. I did the Mana Dork version of it. I didn't do land tutoring ones. Well, maybe like 1 or 2, but nothing that works quick enough because they all are tap abilities. And the whole goal of the deck is to get my commander out as soon as possible so I can start turning my cards into enchantments and get extra nonsense out of them. I also need to tweak the camera because I see a little blur. Let's try something. Eh. It's worse than I thought. Never mind. I don't normally do live streams of this thing, but I thought I'd try it. It's pretty uncommon for people to go live and do this kind of video at the same time. You can see my own camera reflecting on the card. How clever. But that's beside the point. We're going to do a few more tweaks to the field here. So I kind of want to keep my camera steady. I want more. I need more space. Ah, that's my issue. The camera's not low enough. All right, let's get this a little bit lower. Sorry, I shouldn't be doing this live, but I want to get more surface area. I'm still missing like a good inch down here. While the top is basically, well, I'm kind of losing inches all around, to be honest. That's what she said. Let's go as high as we can fly here. Okay, that's probably what I'm going to get out of this. So yes, the whole idea of this deck is to take... Myrkul has 2 abilities. He's indestructible if you have half or less of your life, which is 20 or less in Commander. And the ability to take a creature that you control and dies to turn into an enchantment version of itself by exiling the card and making a token copy of the card. And there is definitely some cards that can abuse this mechanic. Basically, anything that lets it feed into something where it usually has a detrimental usage clause for the card itself that would hurt it as a creature but won't do shit to it as an enchantment. This deck runs all 3 of those cards legally usable. with this effect: Battalion Medic and Devotion Druid, and third card I always forget the name of, but it's actually the strongest of the three. Although I guess you can argue Devotion Druid's the strongest because it gives you infinite green mana. But in a 3-color deck, that's not that great. And I've played this deck so many times where I go, man, I really wish I had something that made anything besides green mana. So the idea is, yeah. So I'm gonna do I'm gonna run this deck a few times before I start messing with it. Kind of show off how it works and what issues happen because of me putting a creature restriction. And if you haven't guessed already, the biggest restriction is lack of interaction. So most of my plays are done on my turn, which is a huge problem because, well, if an opponent does something that messes with my board, I can't really stop it. The fun thing though is this deck has so many creatures that are just on their own, just pretty nasty. As enchantments, that's the key. They have to be enchantments, or they have to be cards that do well with their enchantments as well as creatures. So if the creature has an effect that says, like, when this happens, put 1/1 counter on it, why would I use that? I'm expecting my creatures to die, get exiled, and become these amorphous blob versions of themselves as enchantments. I do follow a few ratios in terms of building a deck. The deck has half. I'm going to say this in a specific way. Half of the deck does something to accelerate my mana. That includes lands, ramping, and dorks and tutors. So about 50 cards either do something that involves me getting more mana. I don't count treasures as ramps, so that doesn't work here. But I do. I don't think I. I think I got rid of my one treasure maker, I believe. I have to look at my deck list, but I'm pretty sure I got rid of my only card that actually produces treasure, which was a tireless tracker or tireless provisioner. Sorry, I was confused the two. And the only reason I got rid of that is because my deck doesn't abuse the landfall, and I'd rather have that spot for something a lot more potent. A few other cards that I thought were great, but actually are shit in this is Platinum Empyrean. My life total can't change. The thing is, this is also an Aristocrats deck, and I need to gain life as well as my opponent's losing life. You also cannot use any abilities that make you pay life to trigger them. And one of my biggest, like, go crazy cards is Yargmoth, Thran Physician, or whatever it's called. And I need to pay life for it. And if I have the period out, I cannot do it. So I'm going to draw 8 because I have my starting hand +1 for draw. Let's see what I could do. Yeah, it's a bit slow to watch, but I'm just going to demonstrate how this deck basically plays out. I look at my hand already; it's kind of shit, but I'm going to play with it because I do have a draw engine, and I have 2 draw engines essentially, which is good enough for this. I already have 8. So let's do the marsh. Can't do shit for first turn. Forest. Actually, given how my hand is, I'm going to do the sanctuary. I'm going to discard a really expensive card for a reason. So I'm going to get Avacyn in the graveyard, which is one of the ways to save my board. The first 2 keywords are so the way to read a card for this deck is ignore anything that's specifically for creatures. So flying and vigilance don't matter. The 8/8 doesn't matter. All these are basically nonsense. The important part is that it's indestructible and it makes other permanents I control indestructible. So this could be out as a creature. It keeps my board from being, either target damaged or whatever. I mean, I'm still good. Every deck is weak to farewell unless you want to use phase out cards, which is also one of the reasons why I kind of want to get rid of the Amori condition because I want to run phasers to save my board because it doesn't destroy tokens. Eggs or Flicker destroys tokens. Bounce the hand destroys tokens. Anything that doesn't keeps the card or makes the card change zones essentially destroys it. So I don't want any of that stuff. So anyways, I discard this. Draw. I'll play this. Now I have 3 mana, and I have 1 of each, which is perfect. I'll play this guy, which Since my deck has a lot of sacrifice triggers, I want something that lets me draw cards. So this is basically Morph, which is not relevant here, but whenever another non-token creature you control dies, draw a card. I would never morph it in this deck specifically, but let's say it's a face down, it's morph. Someone kills it before I can morph it back up. It exiles. I make a token copy of the backside of the card. Or actually, I never thought about that. That's a good thing to look up because I can abuse that. So if I look up morph creature Myrkul, let's see what kind of interactions it has. MTG. Let me see something. Nah, I always say like this commander has so many like specific rules you gotta look up. It's a pain in the ass, but oh yeah, let me tweak my camera a little bit for you guys. Are you Mr. Camera? Let's configure that media. Let's do a little bit of focus. I want like 21 or something. Why is it not moving by ones? No. Not my best camera work. Oh well. I mean, that's kind of the whole point of reading cards anyway. Okay. I don't see anything about this, so that's kind of annoying. A lot of Myrkul decks focus on the fact, or use a lot of the creatures that make enchantment creatures when enchantments ETB, which is a good idea, but that also means that your strategy is to just win with creatures, and I'm not a huge fan of that. Okay, so once it leaves play, it goes face up because technically when a creature dies, it goes in the graveyard face up, and then it's Myrkul sees it go in the graveyard, and I can bring it back as an enchantment. Okay, so I could theoretically morph it. That's why you look up stuff, and also it's a good trap because people won't see the Green Horror specs. Whatever. Anyway, so I got my turn 3. Let's do my turn 4. I like the lands that have so. There's a weird card that works with Myrkul, and I really hate basic land type cards because, let's say I found a way to make these into creatures temporarily. Um, I could animate them, and they get the abilities on the card. And if let's say I animate a swamp, swamp does not have any abilities on it. Technically, the ability to tap for black is actually a inherent trait of a swamp, just like a wall not being able to attack is an inherent trait of a wall. So if I turn a swamp into an enchantment, I cannot use it for anything. It just sits there. So these lands that have a tap, like an ability like this. Also, this is kind of a hilarious one because I could actually, if I do make a copy of this, I do have to return a land still, and it does come into play tapped. So this is not the best target, but a enchantment attached for 2 is actually pretty good here. And then these 2 are basically condition lands. This is what we call fast land, which means you have to play early on. It could be up to the 3rd land you play, and this one has to at least be the 3rd land you play. So I kind of got both. That was cool. Anyways, what can I do for 4? Well, I could try to speed up my draws because Oh, sorry, Myrkul's not out yet. Um, I could do. I do have a turn 4 and a turn 5, but I do need to get to. I have to get to turn 6, or I need to quit speed up. So I could play an Eidolon Blossoms, which lets me draw a card every time whenever an enchantment comes into play, including itself. So I'll draw. That works. And then I'll go and untap. This will be turn number 5. Also, a good thing when you want to goldfish a deck is to keep track of your turns because you, the faster your deck pops off, the more competitive it is. So turn 5, and I only have this out is kind of a bad sign, but oh well. Anyways, I'll draw. I play a. Actually, I can. Might as well keep playing the numb basics on purpose. So I got choices now. I can cast a few things for 5. I could try to get my Amori. I'm gonna kind of ignore Amori because part of my whole strategy here is to see if Amori is even relevant. I don't think he is, so I'm gonna probably not deal with him too much. It would be nice to get basically some ways to get more creatures. So I'm gonna do one of my few token making cards besides my commander. Do a God Eternal Ketra, which is a really cheap card. It's like less than $1. Whenever I cast a creature, make a 4/4 black zombie token. When this dies or goes to exile from the battlefield, that wording matters here. I can shuffle it into. I can put 3 cards to the top of my library, so I could use this to kind of keep myself from milling out. But that's not what the deck does, so it doesn't even matter. Sadly, it does not trigger anything else, but that's fine, and I'll go ahead and take it to turn 6. So a good commander deck would probably have my commander out by now. The I guess the flow of a good deck nowadays is you have to be able to have 2 mana sources and 2 cards drawn every turn to keep up with just basic stuff. That's why people play those like cheap rocks early on to kind of ramp up crazy. Because yeah, I could have Myrkul out on turn 2 or 3 if I had all the competitive crazy rocks out, but I can't run them because they are not creatures. Yay! Right, let's draw. So I'm at 6. I do have a few choices that might actually make a difference here, but I'm gonna risk it for the biscuit because I do want to have. Actually, no. I need options right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and tap this for white to play. Oops, sorry. Tap this for green to play Avacyn's Pilgrim, which is just a mana dork. Just taps for 1 white, and I'll tap out to play a. Actually, I'm gonna be a little bit inefficient on purpose because I do want. There's some. Oh, sorry. I also make a zombie. So I'm going to use another dice to represent that. Just put it on this guy. So I have 1 zombie, which is also useful here. I sadly don't have any enchantment creatures in my hand, but I could play a Stacks piece. This is a card I recently found out, and I thought it was amazing for this deck because it's going to punish people for trying to hurt me. So it says whenever a source an opponent controls deals damage to you, that player sacrifices a permanent. So the idea is a lot of the cards in this deck are stacks pieces that um, make the opponent less likely to do something to me specifically because I need to. My deck's not that stable right now. As I said, it runs pretty slow because of the lack of non-creature spells. That will trigger Oketra, makes me a Zombo, and I will go to turn 7. Why is this in my hand? I was like, why do I have a land in my hand? So even if I don't draw a land right now, I do, which I actually was correct. I did not draw a land. So I'll put Avacyn's Pilgrim down here because I always put my dorks next to my lands because, you know, why not? And I'm going to play out my commander because he needs to be out as soon as possible for him to be useful. And the only problem right now is I have no draws. I have no draw outlets, but that's okay because I have a Myrkul. He's just gonna chill here. And yeah, that's really boring turn 7. Let's go turn 8. I'm going to shock in an overgrown tomb. Now, I am trying to look for a sack outlet. I don't see one in my hand, which is not great. So, yeah, that's the issue right now. I need a sack outlet. Without a sack outlet, my deck doesn't really start up. I could chump block and basically and make my creatures die by combat, or I could attack into players and basically force them to either take damage or destroy and become a thing. Like I could, realistically, I should have attacked with these two, and either some will take the 4, or they will block, and I would get some sort of effect because of Myrkul. But most players at this point would not chump block, because that'd be insane. Now I'll play what I probably should play last turn, but that's okay. I'm going to play a Kodama of the East Tree. Another card that doesn't matter if it's a creature or enchantment, as you can see. All adds is a triggered ability whenever another permanent ETB is under my control. If it wasn't put there to the battlefield this ability, you may put a permanent card with equal or less converted mana cost from your hand to the battlefield. That includes lands, by the way. I didn't have a second land in hand, or else I would have kept my Overgrown Tomb behind and not shock it in. So I'll tap these. I'll leave the Dork and the Tomb open. My hand's a little bit expensive, but I do get another zombie. And I'm going to sadly take the turn number 9. Not doing jack diddly squiddly. I did win with this deck really, really nastily, because this deck does some ridiculous shit when it goes out. So now I could take advantage of Kodama to essentially get some free value. And the best way to do this is to play my most expensive cards and kind of get free cards with it. 5, 6. Play out Geth, Lord of the Vault. It's going to bring a little friend called the Ordu Ondu Spirit Dancer. Geth is one of the cards in this that goes with a sub theme of the deck, which is animation. I know I've done this video before. I know anyone who's gonna watch this be like, wait, you did this tech deck before. But the idea is I'm trying to explore the deck and see where there's flaws, and you can kind of see what the flaws are. I have a really, really sad level of sack outlets. The thing is, though, if I dedicate too much to sack outlets, they don't do anything besides sack into things, so it's not like I get much out of it. I have like 5 or 6 different like infinite sack outlets, which is why it's strange I haven't drawn one yet. But anyways, I'll cast Geth, get a trigger. So I have 5 4/4 zombies, which is a reasonable amount. It'll come with a friend Ondu. I'm gonna skip the intimidate because, as I said, none of these creature-based abilities are useful here. I could play black and X to take a target artifact creature card with converted mana cost X or less from opponent's graveyard and ETB it under mine. Tapped, and then they mill that many cards. I can't target myself, which is just dandy. There's a good chance someone has a silly little card that I could just take with Geth right now. Like, I don't know, like a cheap Mad Orc or something that died from a board wipe or something. But I'm going to go ahead and tap out to play a Bloom Tender, which is a really great Mad Orc, because it does multiple colors. So it taps for 1 of each color that I have permanents, which usually means my commander. That'll trigger this again. Sadly, I have nothing that costs 2 less in my hand, so I'm going to just have to sit here with it. And once again, I got to go turn 10 without doing anything. Man, I didn't even draw the card that would have been hilarious here. I'm going to tap everything out except the Avacyn, because I actually want to stay untapped. Oh, I can use Bloom Tender. I'll tap these for 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh. Oh, that's too white. All right. I could play Elvish Norgren Celebite, and it comes out with its friend Yenna. Essentially, Elvish Norn. This is the OG one that makes all my creatures bigger, all my opponent's creatures smaller. I'll take up this to 7. This would start board wiping already, like all the small creatures, which is one of the reasons I have it in here. Also, it's once again, it's a card that does exactly the same thing, whether or not it's alive or not. It's weird calling it not alive, but that's technically true. And then Yenna is a very weird card in this deck. I can choose any enchantment I control that doesn't have the same name as another permanent I control. I can create a token that is a copy of it, except it's not legendary. So Myrkul says it loses every typing it has and becomes just an enchantment. But if the card is legendary, it stays legendary. So you cannot make copies of those. So this Yenna is sort of a workaround for that. I can also tap 3 to put a Mori in my hand. Doesn't really change any plans here. And sadly, I take the turn 11 because I haven't popped off yet. Ah, oh, come on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. Oh, it's only cost 5, so let's take this. I could tap 5 to play Silverback Elder. It's another creature spell triggering card. I can either do one of 3 things. I can destroy a artifact enchantment, take a look at the top 5 and put a land into battlefield tapped, or gain 4 life. I will probably never use the 3rd trigger unless I'm desperate. Now, normally Kodama would trigger, but I don't want to trigger it on purpose because I need to cast the other card. I'll tap my 2 creatures, which should cover the cost for Umori, which just makes all my creatures cost 1 less. There's a reason I did it in this order, because I want to make sure they both get their cast triggers. So I'll do 8 there. And then I'll do the land-based trigger, because I don't think I'm going to use the artifact one. I'll get the Triome, because it's really the only land that comes to play tapped anyway. Sadly, I have no enchantment lands to trigger Eidolon or any way to sack my freaking creature still, which is sad. I do get a Kodama trigger, but my hand is empty. You can see where this deck is kind of running into huge problems. I could still tap 2 lands to take a cheap card with Geth, but there's no point. So the thing is, too, I need a target for it for the second part to happen. So, yeah. Shit. I guess doing it again. Tapping a white source and a white source. Not really happy about it. Wait. Uh-oh. I missed something obvious. Yeah, I can copy enchantments. I have exactly 1 enchantment. So, and I also have undo, so I could actually do something. I could actually start drawing a lot of cards here. This is what happens when you don't read your cards. Read your cards, kids. Reading is power. I'll tap 2. Oh yeah, it came out. I could have done this last turn. I could make a copy of Island of Blossoms. Undo will trigger. So I'm going to make 2 copies of Island of Blossoms. They're going to see each other go into play. I'm going to draw 6 cards. Now we're cooking with some gas. Now I'll play a Command Tower. And I drew one of the cards that actually make this deck really messed up. But first, I want to get this played out correctly. I have the cost reduction from Umori. I want to get out all these cards in my hand without paying full price, because I do have my Kodama out. I'll just tap these for 4, so I'm not worried about colors anymore. 2-Weight Giant, which will play the Thran Physician, which is one of the most busted cards in this deck. First, for Dreamweight Giant, whenever it or another enchantment ETBs on my control, creatures my opponent's control get -1/-1, which is a Ray Gray ability. Oh, also, Undo will copy that, so that y'all have 2 of those come into play. And I'm going to draw 6 cards, because I did play an enchantment. Jeez. And then Thran will come into play. Thran has the ability that I've been looking for this whole game, which is a sack outlet. I could basically pay 1 life, sacrifice another creature, which is once again why I didn't want to run Platinum, because one of my biggest payoffs is when your life total can't change, you cannot trigger abilities that make you pay life. It works both ways. So I could sacrifice a creature to draw or put one -1 counter on something and draw a card. So my hand just got way fatter. I drew something even nicer, but I'm going to make sure I play it correctly so I don't waste my mana right now. Or I could just, yeah, screw it, I'll just do it. I will pay 1 green source. I guess he will do. To play one of my infinite combo cards, which is a Devoted Druid, and I'll bring in the right of the Willicry. This count, by the way, this is one of those 50 cards I mentioned that let me get lands. Also a sack outlet. Not a sack outlet instantaneously, but still a sack outlet. I'm also up to like 10 zombies here. I also keep forgetting to do this trigger. I'm going to keep looking for lands because I need to ramp out. Let's say I did it twice and I didn't totally just mess up the order. Because I played Doomwake and Devoted. That's 2 triggers. You have to practice these decks. This is one of those decks that needs a lot of practice because there's a lot of triggers that happen. None of these trigger Hiss or anything else, just these 2. Now I have a sack outlet, and I have a way to. I have 2 sack outlets. I do have a way to do this. I could look for lands, but that's not what I'm going to do yet. I'm going to put up my second infinite piece. The problem is right now, one of the cards in my hand depends on how many cards are in all graveyards or creatures. Doomwake probably burnt out 10 creatures between 3 commander players, so let's just assume I have it and tap out these 4 to play with my. Oh, I didn't even explain the infinite combo part. Devoted Druid has 2 abilities. It taps for 1 green, and I can put 1/1/1 counter on it to untap it. If it's not a creature, the second ability literally just puts counters on it and nothing else happens to it. In other words, I can go infinite green. Rev the Reliquary. I covered the. I'm obviating the power toughness because it doesn't matter here. Has vigilance, doesn't matter. It gets 1/1 for each creature card in my graveyard. Doesn't matter because I don't really put that many creatures in the graveyard. And then I could sacrifice another creature by tapping it to search my library for a land to put into play tapped. And then Baratin Maggot, which is the white version of the Devoted Druid, as you can see when I put them side by side. It has a ability that also taps and untaps to make it untap itself with -1/1 counters. I'm playing this very suboptimally, sadly, because I should have just well, we'll just see what happens here. So I'm going to use Yawgmoth's ability. I'm going to sacrifice my Devoted Druid. I get 2 draw triggers. I'm going to go ahead and transform this into an enchantment version of itself. This will trigger I draw 3 cards. You can see how this deck kind of goes bonkers out of nowhere. I drew 5 cards already. Now I have an infinite green mana source. And I can start playing out my deck. I'm going to tap this for as much green as I need to play at Nylea, which will trigger this, draw 3 cards. This will make a Zom. This will let me trigger and put down a permanent in play, which will be a Mondrak, Glory Dominus. I'm at 13 zombies. Let's see. I had to do the 3rd card in the set of Infinite, do the Myrkul. Let's see. I could actually start doing some weird stuff with Kodama too, but let's first sacrifice Right of the Reliquary. Oh, right. Devoted Druid actually triggers something else because it does have Kodama trigger. I'm going to put a land into play because Devoted Druid came into play. I don't think anything else triggers yet. I don't have any doublers. Oh, I can use Undo to make. Or I already did this trigger once, right? What did I make a copy of? Oh, Edolian. Right. That's that means I only get 1 of these. This only triggers once per turn. Now, if I have an extra turn, this deck does something also pseudo infinite. But the problem is if I do it, I actually will draw myself out because of Eidolon's ability. Although I could use a Ketra to keep that from happening. It's screwy. This card actually hurts you really badly because anything that doesn't have a May ability on them usually are cheaper because you can hurt yourself with them. So Eidolon says you have to draw the card. Grim Harspec says you have to draw the card. Yawgmoth is you have to draw the card, but I'm doing that on purpose so it doesn't go infinite. I could do now. Mondrak makes 2 copies of everything. Nylea is indestructible and makes my creature spell cost 2 less. And I could use Nylea right now to basically get the rest of my library into my hand because it reads with Devoted Druid. It says, reveal top card of your library. If it's a creature card, put it in my hand. Otherwise, you may put it into my graveyard. I don't know if I can lose right now or if I could just mill myself because I don't know how to get rid of the Eidolon. I can sacrifice. Well, actually, technically, all the copies are also creatures. I'm gonna sacrifice the 2 copies. I'm gonna stack it so they're both gone, so this doesn't trigger, or this won't trigger. This won't trigger. This will just make me draw 2 cards. I don't want the Eidolons to go do their crazy shit. I'm gonna start playing all the things in my hand that I can play. Um, Basically, I could play any creature that's green and put a land into play to match it for free. So I can do that right now. This will make 14, 15, and I'll play a Reflecting Pool. I'll play Jaheira. I'll play a Sanctum with that. So that's 16. Now all of my tokens are now Mana Dorks too, which means all the enchantments I make are Mana Dorks. I think I'm out of stuff that's purely green. I'm going to tap 2 black sources and tap a bunch of green to play a Avatar of Woe, which will play a Forbidden Orchard. I'm going to tap a Forbidden Orchard, and I'm going to sacrifice a creature with Phyrexian Tower, which will probably be Somberwell or be like Gwenna. Now Gwenna is an enchantment version of itself. I will then tap. I should have done that to play Avatar of Woe, but oh well. I'll tap this out to cover the white cost for Victor and also the Grand Abolisher. I will play 2 more lands into play. Now I can start filling up my hand a bit more. Actually, I did do that because I did draw. I also did. Every time I did that, I was actually able to ramp up. So I'm going to do this one time. Nothing came up. I'm just going to put these aside. Because every time I play a creature, I could do this ramping thing. I'll play the Rot Farm, which I'll put whatever land back in my hand because I could just play it anyway. Because once it comes to play, I can play a land. All right, let's do that again. Play a Urborg. Now everyone has swamps. Let's do it again. This is all turn 11 or turn 11. Like I'm not. I can't. I won't be able to stop. I could probably play my entire deck at this point. Like that's kind of what this deck is. It snowballs ridiculous out of nowhere, which means it's maybe I shouldn't f with it. I don't know. I don't. The Mori thing kind of messes with my head because I'm thinking, well, I could make this better if I just got rid of that restriction. But it kind of does its thing. As I said before, it's a little bit sluggish. I like to build decks with restrictions so they're not so broken because this deck could definitely be. I don't know if it's CDH because I don't think it's that fast. It could definitely be a high 4, which sounds like a really, really shitty brand of energy drink. It's kind of like a, what do you call it, 5-hour? It's like, high 4. Hmm. Okay, I guess I don't know what to do with this deck. Let's not mess with it. I probably should play some real games with this on the lines. But first, I'll take a quick break because there's no one in the room anyway. So, all right, be right back. All right, I am back. Cool. Man, my lighting situation's so funky. Look at that. So that shadow, you could see under the shadow better than the actual stuff. So let's try one of my light setups here. Ooh, no. Let's try the mode. So that's what sucks about wearing like these sleeves. Like, look at how reflective that is. Yeah, that's not helping. All right, so I gotta deal with that light source. Well, the trick is to counteract it with something like, yeah. And then I can turn off the one that is hitting the reflective surface of the cards. And that should be a bit more readable. Less shadows. So I can put my hand around the camera. There's no less shadows now. Although it makes it hard for me to see. I lose no matter how I play this out. Okay. I mean, I know what the cards do without really looking at them. So it's not a big deal. I don't know what to do with this deck. I guess I could just show a physical breakdown. I guess the question is, well, if there's someone in the chat that actually knows what this how this deck is, maybe suggestions or like I tried so hard to like I definitely run some stacks pieces. I'm not a huge fan of that, but when I say stacks, I mean like hurting your opponents, not helping my stuff. Or no, not like an Avacyn. Avacyn is what they call pillow forting, where you make your board so hard to interact with that you just kind of win. Enchantment. I have revival, sacrifice. Like there's a bunch of themes here, and then there's what I call utility cards, which are creatures or something that kind of just makes the deck interesting. Like this was my favorite card in standard back in the day. This with I don't know if they were ever at the same time standard legal. Rhea Dawnbringer, the original one, I believe was from a set called Invasion. And if I'm correct about that, wow, there's so many printings of it. I ran a deck with Rhea Dawnbringer. Actually, you know what? Let's do a window share. Let's join the windows. All right, let's turn this on and bing. Yeah. Not the best. Let's do it like this. Not the best. Actually, I want to do F11 on this one. There you go. So here we go. This is like my little research thing here. And just because I want to do a... There you go. Let's start from scratch here. So here we go. I'm going to kind of build what I did when I was a kid. I'm not going to log in. I just want to build a deck. Do I have to log in? Okay, so I'm going to... Okay, I guess I have to sign in. Oh no, you can see my name. Like, I don't want that to happen. So I don't know what I can do here. I'm going to call it standard high school. This deck I played in 2003. I don't think it's actually standard legal because all the cards are probably not. So it was a Rhea Dawnbringer. Sure. Avatar Blow. Now I built this deck before there was Buried Alives, which was a fantastic tutor back in the day. It's still, I mean, it's still a good card, but let's add 3 more because that's as much as you can legally have. I'm not. I forgot to change this. Can I change what it is? It's not a commander deck anymore. Let's change it to. I don't even. I'm gonna put none because I don't really know what's gonna even happen. All right. Now I should shut up about the thing. It's not a commander deck. Stupid poopid. Okay, whatever I did didn't work. This is so annoying. I want to change it to none and then save. Okay. Okay, now it's not gonna complain. What's this little icon here? Whatever. And then there was like a few cards back in the day that were 4-card revival. So, like, I kind of remember what the card is. Put a creature card. My commander. I'm gonna put that in quotes. It was a white-black deck. I didn't run other colors. Oops, I can't spell play. Whatever. To the battlefield. There are specifically really old cards that did this just this one effect. Or this deck was a kind of a piece of shit, but also really good at the same time. That's one of them, Breath of Life. I used to run Breath of Life in sets of 4 because why not? There's a black version of that, which was about the same time. I'm just gonna look up sorceries because I know what their sorcery fees. I'm gonna even play. I'm gonna assume that the what's your color? So yeah, that was one of the cards. Where's the other one? I should have done CMC. No, I remember that like when I started this game, I started right after the Odyssey block. I missed out on buying that many cards from Odyssey or not Odyssey, the Urza Saga or Urza's block, which was a still one of the most broken. Oh my god, that whole set's messed up. I'm like 8% sure it's Zombify. Let me double check because if it doesn't have an old printing, it's not that wouldn't be it. Yep, it was Zombify because I had this version of it. I had the original one from like it's the same. Look, it's like the same year, 2001. So building a really old ass. Zombify. I like how it's still printed in Foundations, but it's not even a good card. Okay, I'm not gonna say it's a bad card. I'm just gonna say it's not the best. I'm gonna switch printings because I want the OG. Like you can see where I started playing this game. I want all the OG ones. Where are you, OG? Ooh, that's kind of cool looking. I actually didn't play this Breath of Life because I didn't. Actually, no, I got one from Portals, but I actually got um the one I actually ran was the 7th edition Breath of Life because I had a lot of 7th edition cards as a kid. So we got those. Um, so the idea of this deck was this: you draw into a buried alive, you bury 3 creatures. Ray of Dawnbury will be the first one you bring back. It's a big body. it will revive a creature every turn. Then you can bring back stuff like Avatar Will for free, essentially. Um, and then you basically will fill the deck with a bunch of like clerics from that set, which I don't remember any of those cards anymore. I don't remember the names. I'm going to just do white black and just type in. I guess can I look up set? Oh, oh. I think ODY works. Guessed it. Woo. Okay. So I'm looking for specific ones. Like I had this was also a baby deck, so I didn't have like it was like a pseudo standard deck. It wasn't great. I ran stuff like Beloved Chaplains. That was also I love those cards. I used to run. I have full playset of those. Also, I only have one of those and one of those. At the time, I only had one of each. So Beloved Chaplain, I would run the max. So look, we're building a little crappy deck from 2001. Isn't that great, kids? Like a lot of these cards are the cards I would run in that deck. So I'm kind of looking through different sets. Oh man, I'm still trying to remember stuff. So yeah, see, I got the Buried Lives. I don't think that was one of them. I did have a Gravestorm. I owned a Gravestorm, but I didn't use it because I didn't really understand. I was an idiot when it came to this kind of stuff. I was very like straightforward, build my board, don't worry about the rest situation. I think it was a lot of clerics. It was a very cleric heavy deck, so I did have beloved healers. I spelled it wrong, didn't I? Hallowed healer. Why did I think it was beloved? Oh, that's good. Put those in. I like how a foiled version of it's still not worth anything. That just shows you like it really does matter what your how good the card is if you want a foily version. Oh no, commercials! I'm now advertising cars. That's why I do incognito mode. What other crap can I put in here? I'm building a deck from my childhood that I actually had cards for. I didn't own a lot of these. I know the big one was a. Oh man, I'm trying to remember what I even threw in this thing. I feel like I ran spears, but they were too expensive. I wouldn't have ran those. I see. There's your zombie fi. I really wanted this card as a kid because I thought it was really cool to pay 3 to copy a spell. This is now just considered garbage because there's so many free spells that do that, and 5 is a lot to pay for that. I also had a caustic tar, but I also didn't run that for obvious reasons. Let's switch to torment. I think TOR is torment. Yeah, so this is I ran Tainted Field because that was like the only dual land I had as a kid. So it's right. What year are these? Is it 2002? So my pseudo commander deck is 2001, 2002. Isn't that great? So it's run for Tainted. Cool. Now add a playset of those. And just for consistency, let's change the printing. Oops. I don't want to split. That's too much work. Want the OG one. It's not even in order. Where's the only one that looks old school? There you go. Man, I have like a bunch of these. They're worth a lot. That's cool. So far, my little deck here has gave me 40 bucks. That's mostly because of the 2 legendaries in here. Actually, it's 1 legendary. And technically, I don't even have this printing. All right, I have that printing, or I have this one. I don't remember. I have What ratings do I have? I don't want those. I want, well, not even that one. I want Prophecy, which means this deck would have not been standard legal. Because this card, oh, it's 2000. So these, I have 2000 to 2002 cards here. Interesting. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, that's what I had all these cards as a kid. I want the original. Man! That would have been great to have if I had a $300 Magic card. Although I played these decks without sleeves, so most of my cards here have damage. So I got my lands. I'm pretty sure I ran the standard 20. Oh, actually, there's one other card. There's one card that specifically worked with. Let's see. I did not source that correctly. I have to do Oracle. I ran both of these. So I had Starlight Sanctum, the original one. I only ran two of those because I only had two. Ah, shit, I typed it wrong. Ugh. I'm gonna assume that's the only card that's called Starlit something. Really? Huh. Oh, I guess there are more. But I want the Sanctum one. And not just any Sanctum one. I want the original one I ran from Onslaught. Yeah! Which is really hard to read, but should be 2002 also. Yep. I built the deck around these sets. I want to add one because I only had two of them. And then I also ran four of these Cabal Archons. There's some cool stuff. And kind of how the deck worked, and it was a silly deck, but it did its thing. Let's add a full play set of those. I'm at 32. I still have to add like a bunch of lands. I don't remember what the ratio would have been, but given I have 6, that means I have 14. Let's say it was 12 swamps and, yeah, swamp. I don't think I had any other special swamps, so. And I would have ran the ODY ones. Actually, not ODY. I had older than that. Oh god, it's gonna take me forever to find this. What says Red Dawnbreaker from again? Eh. Invasion. Yeah, I would have invasion swamps. Oops. Nope. I don't know which one would have been. Doesn't really matter. So I'll pick this one. And I would have had like, knowing my kid brain, I would have just made the lands even between white and black. So I would have done something like, let's say I had 6. Or sorry, 6. That's 14. I would have 7 each. So let's add 6 more. And then that. Pick that one. You gotta love building medics from my childhood. I actually had one of my high school friends come up to me at like a local game store, and they told me, they're like, "I remember when you kicked my ass with this deck." And it's like all creatures and sorceries. And I think I must have, like, this is the thing. At some point, I ran out of what I forgot what the deck had. At some point, I know the core of the deck was the idea was I go ahead and play out some like defensive creature like Beloved Chaplain. Oh, that's not even the right printing. I don't like that. I want Odyssey, bro. Nope, not Split. I am a little bit. I want the OG one, baby. There you go. I have all these. I don't have the freaking whatever version of it. Anyway, the idea is that you play, I don't know, turn one, you probably would place like it doesn't really matter what's land. Probably this. Ideally, I will have both of these in my hand, with obviously more lands. You know, man, do I can't remember if there were any cards. Let me try something. Um, Set ODY. Were there? I don't. So my brain would have said no to this and this and this because I don't want. I would back then. I was like, I'm not taking damage. That's stupid. Um, I never got the point of doing this. I probably. Oh, I ran. Oh, I know I ran now. Let's see. Did I spell Mario right? Yes, I did. Yeah, I'm sorry. I know this deck was a cleric heavy deck, and as I said, the idea is I would play some like early on blockers like Decayed, Beloved. Turn 3, I would Bury Alive. Turn 4, I would either Breath of Life or Zombify Raina, Avatar Woe. I know I had some other beaters. I had a third big black creature. Oh, I had both avatars. I had Avatar of Hope. It has a lot of avatars. I want this one. Not just any. I want to switch to printing because I had the OG one. You. Yeah, look at that. It's like a set. And this was like my middle school, high school standard deck. I'm also short 9 cards. If I can remember what the rest of them were, I know it was more clerics. I just can't remember what. Or I must have had some. I probably had some interaction because I don't think I would have ran a deck without like some way to destroy creatures or something. I got that. Can I? Is there a way to search by year? Because that might help. Let's see. I want. Okay, year. So I gotta put a range. Okay. Last ten. Okay, so I'm gonna do it like this. Let's do year greater than 1998. So I might have played stuff from 1999. Year less than 2003. I know I have bottle gnomes in the. I have bottle gnomes in the last version of it, but that would have not been the legal version of it. Okay, so these are all the cards I could have played. I had Peep Bog, but I didn't use it because I didn't. As I said, anything that I thought I lose value on, I didn't run. I probably should have ran that. That would have been great. I didn't run those. Let's see. I'm trying to relearn my own. I feel like this is one of them. Might be. I know I ran those both. Beloved. I is it one of the things where I read Beloved, but it's not Beloved? Benevolent. Sheesh, what's up with this, Mate? Benevolent Bodyguard. They're expensive. Sheesh. I had the original ones. And it's like they made them in so many sets. Like I have the Judgment version. I probably had a full playset of them because that would make sense. What else did I run? I'm gonna eventually learn that I overshot. Card I actually loved as a kid was this one because I thought the idea of making it so someone had to target one of your creatures. Like the coalition flag like screws up enchantment decks or aura decks, equipment. Actually, I don't actually. Sorry, this won't work on equipment because equipment says target creature you control. It has to be a legal target for this. Although I could use I could put coalition. Oh, yeah. Never mind. No, that's that. I'm pretty sure I just played like a playset of like I probably did this. Um, mm, Probably just like a two. Probably play two of these. It would have been from the 7th edition version because that's just how old I am. Where are you? Yep, there it is. Come on. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the stream. If you're in the stream, that's because you're here. Willkommen, willkommen. We are looking at magic cards. I'm trying to build my childhood deck from scratch from memory, which is really difficult. Ah, man. This is like one of my first decks. I don't think this would have been standard legal because I think it covers 2 years. I would have to look at what was legal in 2002. I didn't even. I had this, but I wouldn't have ran it. That would have been too expensive for me mentally to use. I had these, but I didn't use them. Same with those two. I did not run any of these because I thought they were slow. Soul Warden, wow. It's a really obvious card my brain's gonna remember, but I have to see it first. Where are you, my friend? I might have ran a circle protection or two, but it would have been there's a better circle protection that lets you choose a color, so you can essentially make sure you can like if you're because back in this time of age, having more than two colors was like a really stupid ass idea. Come on, let me try it like this. So I know the card's gonna say destroy on it. Oops, can't type for Scheisels. Okay. Oh yeah, Ghastly Demise. That was it. Okay. I don't think I would have ran 3 of it, but just to make this deck consistent, I'm gonna make it 60. I didn't know what a sideboard was by then, by the way, or I didn't really see a point in it. Okay, here we go. Here's my deck from a long time ago, and I could play it right now, but I would probably deal another hand. What's this play test at? So I would go ahead. I'd probably go first. My hand's kind of shit. What's that? Play a swamp. Next turn. Play this. Tap 2 to play this. So I have a blocker. Next turn. This. Probably tap this to play this out. Oh, oops. Oh my god. I didn't even draw Buried Alive yet. I drew 3 Zombifies but no Buried Alives? Shit. So I played this. Oops. Then I would. And my deck just ran like shit on the internet. I was a kid. What do you expect? So I get Avatar of Woe. I basically get all the cool cards: Avatar of Hope and Reign of Dawnbringer. Those will go straight to my graveyard. Bajuka Bog existed at this point, but no one played that because no one really saw Graveyard Revival as a problem. And I wouldn't be able to cast anything else getting 3, so it's next turn. I would play a Zombify, tapping out my black mana. Also, at this point, I probably would just play out my 2 bodyguards just because why not? So I go to my graveyard. I want to view all, put my rain into play, and then basically every turn I revive something. So next turn, go to my graveyard. Let's go ahead and it does say upkeep, so they're all summon sick. Man, view all. Always bring back Avatar Vote first. And the funny thing is, because exile wasn't a common thing back then, I would probably just keep reviving stuff. Let's put this into play. So basically, I can't be blocked, and then what I would do every turn is I would basically just attack with my pro creature stuff while I keep building up my board. I could even sacrifice one of these guys at the right before this would trigger. I wasn't that smart, so I probably wouldn't have done this, but I could say like, "Oh, I sacrifice this to this, and I give it pro whatever color I want, and then just punch people, and then revive with Rainia." But the idea is I could have a Hollow Healer. This would also be a lifesaver. I would do something like this. I would start sacrificing my clerics into this, revive them every turn, basically make like a little, I guess, turn loop. I don't know. This deck is kind of a piece of shit. I mean, it scared people at school. Look at that. I don't even think I honestly ran this many revival cards. I don't think I had that many. I think I played only 4. I think it was like 1 Zombathar and 3 Breath of Life. So I'm pretty sure my other cards were like, well, I can't remember the stupid card that destroys black or non-black creatures. Oh yeah, this is enchant. Where's the other one? Terror. That's the one. I ran terrors also, or I also ran smother. Smother was good. Terror was good. Like all this was good. Oh, I ran afterlife. I remember you. I love this card was so cool because a lot of people played black creatures, so this was a way around it. Yeah, colors mattered back then. Isn't that ridiculous? Yeah, but that's my crappy deck from that year. Now let's see. Let's see the standard timeline. I want. Well, I technically was playing more effectively in high school, so that'd be 2003. I played when I was a kid, and I was here. I was actually right here. So this set, yeah, my deck was legal when I played it. Look at that. All the cards are here. I mean, I did. These are all the braids. Oh, these were all the powerful cards. I didn't know what this crap was. I was a kid. The hell? What, you expect me to be cool or something? So yeah, I ran. I was legally playing with this. Actually, I was. Yeah. So my deck was legal until 2002 because this is This is the sweet spot. This is about the time I played with this deck. Maybe a bit late. I was probably maybe over here. So I would have played in high school. That would have been right here, which means that my 2 of my best cards would not have been legal anymore. So oops. My deck was even here. Look, there's Blue Green Madness, which was a great one. I read that. Like some of these decks were cool too, but I didn't know what they are. And now the crazy thing is now, like, watch what standard is now set wise because they basically made it like much fatter. Let's see if I can find it. Come on, man, that's a lot. So as you can see, they changed standards from this point. So that's a huge jump. Just within 4 months, they made it really huge, or they dropped a shit ton of sets at once. So they got rid of these 4 sets, and then they basically locked up standard here. You can see like every time it just increases. Oh, they named these. Return to Acrovios? What's Acrovios? Oh. Oh, okay, that's Strixhaven. Really? I don't want to go back to school. The Metronome Arc? The heck is this crap? Oh. Oh, so it's like all those like mix up sets, which were stupid. Oh, look, it can go all over the place. This I thought was silly when they were like, "What's this? Throw people into other games." Anti-flash, breaches, man. Oh, yeah, I know, I'm kind of boring. That's okay. But yeah, I play a mostly legal deck. I think I was like a little bit too slow because the cards that made the deck run the way I want it to run. I'm pretty sure this deck isn't this shit. I also don't think I ran this many Breath of Ice and Buried. I'm pretty sure I ran way more interaction. This I'm sure I ran this many Buried Lives because that's like the core of the deck. I just throw as many creatures as I can in the graveyard, and I revive them either with spells or whatever. So these two were the only ones that wouldn't have not been legal when I was in high school. But no one gave a shit about what standard was. Everyone just wanted to play, and these cards weren't so broken. Although this scared the shit. Like seeing this guy come out and turn 4 or 5 scares the shit out of people. I even got to the point where I was playing it normally because it does have a redux. If I can get um, 6 or 10 more creatures in all graveyards, which I guess 1v1 is much harder. But given how my deck's goal is to put stuff in the graveyard and then revive it, which is like that's some ancient like black white stuff there. All right, I might just end the stream for now. I don't think this is going too well. I hope you guys have a good night, and yeah, you can comment in the video too, because this will probably be posted on YouTube. You can watch it. You can complain about how my deck is poop or whatever. But yeah. By the way, I did put in 20 clerics at least in this deck. You can see how that works with like the Starlit Sanctums. I'm pretty sure I ran something else that was like, even better than that. I mean, the cool thing about the Sanctum and also the couple Archons that deals damage to your opponent, which is kind of the alternate win con. This was supposed to just be a way to keep myself alive. Same with Hallowed Healer. And usually I get the threshold because of how the deck empties the graveyard. The bodyguards protect the core 3. Because as I said, exiling was not a huge thing back then. None of the people I played Bajuka Bog, even though it did come out in this year, time area. But good thing for that, right? All right.